Well, now to the border battle on Capitol Hill. A bipartisan group of senators reached an agreement yesterday on the restructuring of the nation's immigration bill. Among its provisions, the plan would create a multi-tiered system for dealing with undocumented workers. It all depends on how long the person has been in the United States. Here 5 years or more, the plan would lead to eventual legal residency. Here 2 years to 4 years, the plan allows for a temporary work visa. But for those here 2 years or less, there are no benefits in the plan, and the person would have to return to his or her own country. Joining me now is Representative Raul Grijalva, Democrat from Arizona. Congressman, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
This bill that was, proposed bill that was talked about yesterday, is it a good bill?
It's a delicate balance, and essentially, yes. I think it moves this whole debate on immigration to a more rational, reality-based discussion, that you do have people here working, and that there has to be, within the immigration reform law, some process that leads toward regularization of people and legal status. And I think this bill moves in that direction. You pointed out correctly, the three-tier is going to be problematic to many people, and that's part of the debate that's going to continue on it. But in the sense of moving the debate to a discourse that's much more humane, much more rational, it's a good step.
Well, let's see if we can pull that off, because there is some disagreement over this bill. The House voted for a much more restrictive policy on immigration, and some of the more conservative Republicans among them are not happy with this Senate compromise, as was stated yesterday. In fact, let me just show you what one of those congressmen said. This is Representative Tom Tancredo of Colorado. He said this: the Senate amnesty deal, he calls it an amnesty deal, is miserable public policy that will be rejected by the House of Representatives and has already been rejected by the American people. It continues the running joke that is our immigration system. All right, so you can see what's setting up here. We get back to the amnesty issue of immigration. How are you going to rectify that? How are you all going to come to some sort of term of agreement on that particular part of this bill?
I think those are philosophical opposites, and I don't know how you bridge that, to be quite honest with you. But I think what the Senate has done is essentially repudiated Mr. Tancredo and Mr. Sensenbrenner by saying this is not an enforcement only. This doesn't need to be mean-spirited. This doesn't need to be punitive. This doesn't mean a wall across the border. And by repudiating that, obviously Mr. Tancredo is going to have the reaction that he has, because he sees the issue of immigration reform in a very simplistic, narrow way. Very restrictionist, throw them out, and everything will be okay. Well, that's not reality. And I think, if anything, hopefully members of the House of Representatives will realize that here is an opportunity to do something historic and move forward, and not allow the status quo to remain. And Mr. Tancredo is representative of that status quo.
You have an interesting point of view, and I want to let our viewers know that your father, in 1945, I understand, came over through a managed immigration program during World War II.
Correct.
And he remained in this country, and that is some of your heritage. So tell us how that occurred, and how that has affected your sentiments on this particular legislation. It affects my sentiments because it touches me very deeply. It's about family, and it's about the values that I learned in this country. My dad came here during the war, when many of the young men were off fighting for this nation, did jobs that were vacant that nobody could take at the time, and got his legal permanent residence here. We were raised here, we were born here, all of his children graduated from college, and it's the American story over and over again. And for me, the sentiment is this: that story is getting repeated every day in every neighborhood in this country, and it's the immigrant story. And for us to follow a philosophy that shuts that dream off, that penalizes people, that criminalizes people, is totally against every value we grew up with and every value I believe in very deeply. But you realize you just made the argument of those against amnesty. Your father, your family did it legally, and they're going to say, we have no problem with that. It's the ones that are doing it illegally, and that's where this juxtapositioning comes in the argument. You see that, right?
No, I see that argument. I also see the reality too, that we have an economic dependency on the labor that's here, immigrant labor, undocumented or not, and that reality has to be dealt with. You cannot
pick up and remove and deport 12 million people from this country. The social peace is at stake, and just the economic reality of this nation, plus the fact that it's inhumane. So that's the reality. We're asking people to deal with reality and quit using this as a means to gain political points.
All right, Representative Raul Grijalva, Democrat from Arizona. We appreciate your insight and your time this morning. Thank you.
Very kind of you. Thank you.